everyone, welcome back to the channel. I've got here a new project on the bench, but before we talk about this guy, just a bit of housekeeping. I know I haven't uploaded a lot of videos lately, and the main reason is that it's quite busy at the moment in my private life, and this YouTube channel is just a hobby for me, so I don't want to force myself to really put out a video every week on a specific day or something like that. It really has to stay a hobby for me. So that means that when it's busy in my private life for other reasons, then I won't be able to work as much here in my workshop, and there will be less videos, of course. And that's what's happening at the moment. It will also get a bit even more busier in the coming weeks. But after a while, it should calm down again. And then I expect to be able to put out a bit more videos again. Maybe towards the end of the year, in a couple of months, things should calm down, and yeah, you should see a bit more videos again on the channel. So my apologies for that, but I don't really want to change my policy of only documenting what I do for a hobby and not really making videos for the sake of making videos, because for me this really needs to stay a hobby. I don't want to end up in the YouTube stress that so many content creators have these days. So that's why, bear with me, it will be better in the future. Then, another point, I did a poll on my channel recently, which type of equipment you'd like to see me work on next, and the overwhelming majority voted for a tube radio. Not surprisingly. So that's what we have over here. It might not look like one, but it's definitely a tube radio. And I picked this one also because I hope it's going to be not a really heavy project. It's a relatively simple radio. Doesn't seem at first sight, touch wood, to be that complicated and really do not need that much work. So I can do this project hopefully in between all the other stuff that is going on at the moment. So then I hope to be able to anyway publish a couple of videos maybe over the coming weeks for this thing. We will see. Don't shoot me if yeah, it would still take a while before we get this finished. Now, this is a Siera. Siera, you might know, it's just another name for Philips, right? It's just a brand name for Philips. So it's in fact a Philips. It's a Siera, I don't know the type number by heart. Let me see. It should be written on here somewhere. SA4311A. And it's a tube radio. It's a very, very late tube radio. Probably somewhere first half of the 60s, maybe even mid 60s. And this is basically the Siera version of a radio which is much more common, and that's the Philips equivalent, which is considered to be the last tube radio that Philips ever made. And this is their Siera-badged version. So Philips typically released the same radio, the exactly identical radio, on different brands. And this one... but the only thing what was done different was a bit of the case design. Honestly, often I like the Siera versions better. I think personally they look better, and in this case that's also my opinion. So that this one does look better than the original Philips one. I'll put an image on the screen here so that you can compare, but I like this version better. It has 4 tubes. I don't remember exactly which ones. I think definitely an ECC85 for the FM, and then probably an ECH81 and an EF89. And then the output tube is an ECL86. So you have a preamp and an amplifier tube, power amplifier in one tube. So it's a 4-tube radio. It uses a silicon rectifier, which is not that common for Philips, because Philips really kept using tube rectifiers for a very long time compared to other brands. This one has a solid state rectifier. I Then it has FM, shortwave, long wave, medium wave, and pickup with this selector switch here. This is the tuning. Does it still work? I guess not. I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing anything move. So I also don't feel any resistance. So probably a dial cord. The FM, since it's such a late tube radio, goes to 108 megahertz, so that's nice. And here we have the volume control. That doesn't feel great either. It's very wobbly. No, this is the volume control, sorry. And the on-off switch as well. That also feels very loose. This is the tone control. And that's basically it on the back. Oh yeah, the condition is okay-ish. It's very dirty. It does need a lot of cleaning, but I don't see a lot of damage. Here, this trim has bulged, come loose, see? And it has also shrunken a bit, or that's what it looks like, because it doesn't fit anymore over there. So this one, we'll have to do something about that. The veneer, because it's real veneer, I guess, or is it plastic? Maybe it's plastic. I'm not sure. I think it's real wood. Yes. Yeah, it's veneer. Not a lot of damage. No damage at all. Just a lot of dirt and stains that we can clean out, I guess. Some very light scratches, but here also some stains, some dirt, lots of dirt. But I don't see any damage, which is good news, because then it's also why I picked this one. Don't need to do woodworking. Woodworking is not my favorite part of the job. So yeah, would need maybe a bit of cleaning and oiling, and that should do it. On the back, we have a plastic back. What this hole is, I have no clue how this came to be. That's heat damage. I think that's heat damage. There is a tube sitting just behind it. That's from the heat of the tube. The plastic melted and then shrunk and then split. See? That's remarkable. We have here the connector for the pickup. That's a DIN socket. Power supply. Shouldn't there be like a voltage selector? I don't see anything in here in this. Well, let's see. Oh, here we have the antenna connectors, right? Of course. Let's see how this thing opens up. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws, and this screw is missing. That doesn't bode well. Let's see. The power cord is also not the greatest. Somebody has been in here clearly. Let's hope they didn't Frankenstein too much things. Yeah, let me just take out all the screws here and then we'll see what is inside, because I haven't even looked at it either, so I'm just as curious as you are at the moment. Okay, all screws are out. This one was a small one, and that missing one then I guess as well. The rest are all the same simple screws. Let's see, I guess this is the antenna wire that we will also need to take out. Let's see what we get inside here. Okay. Wow, what the heck is that? That is just... This is all loose here. Oh, okay, I guess that's normal. I don't know if it's normal, but yeah, see, so here this damage from the plastic, that's the ECL 86 that got really hot probably, and over time just melted the back panel. Okay, so this is indeed an antenna wire, but it should have normally been connected with this side. I guess there was a plug on here so that you could plug it here into the antenna connector. so don't need to worry about that. Here the power cord will not fit through this hole, so I don't know what happened here, but I guess the easiest way is just to undo this bodge and see how wonderful they tack these wires together. And then we can, since I'm gonna redo that anyway, yeah, see, they're just twisted together what I expected. And see, so these come out and then these come out simply like that. Okay, to get the chassis out, because the chassis is just sitting loose in here. See, what is holding it in place? And the back panel, I guess, is holding it in place. It's just sandwiching. Wow, this really looks like a cheap design from Philips. Oh, the front is now also coming off. Okay. Does it... It comes out fully like that. Okay. Oh, right. And it is indeed wood, real wood. The bottom is, how do you call this? Pressboard. But the other two sides are real wood. Other three sides, sorry. That's nice. And here we have the full chassis out. I do have to be careful by lifting this thing, because that front panel is plastic. I think it'll crack rather easily. Okay. How do we start? I think I am going to take the front panel off, because that will not survive me handling the radio while working on it. So I guess we'll need to take off the knobs. Wow. Those came off rather easily, but these guys, that's gonna be a bit different. Okay, that was also easy. Okay, that's not too bad. Now let's see, where is it? See a screw over there and one over there. Okay. Okay, so I'll simply do it like this. That's one. And the other one, where was the other one? Over there. That's more difficult, that one. Let's do it like this. Okay. I think, if that one wants to come out, that those are the only two screws keeping the chassis in place. Now, we also have the speaker, which is connected to the front panel. But I think chassis comes off now, right? Okay. Okay. Speaker wires, I'm gonna snap them off. This is the black one is on top. Where is my... Okay. Like that. And that. Okay. The front panel and the speaker is also loose. That's great. And then we only have the chassis left. So I think they couldn't have made this any more cheap than they did. And the dial pointer is still moving. I just must have not seen it through the dirt on the front panel. See, dial pointer is still in place. Just needs a good clean. And here we have, well, power transformer. We have here the filter can, which is just hanging loose. I cannot believe that this is original. See, it's just hanging loose. We have the output transformer. See, this is also just hanging loose here. See? What is going on? I also can't believe that's original, or it must have fallen off due to the heat. That's also a possibility. I think, yeah, this tube here is so close to this side that here this plastic from the, well, let me get you a bit closer. See, so this is the ECL86 and here is the output transformer, and the ECL86 got so hot that it completely melted here this bracket on the output transformer, which made this resistor fell off. Yeah, okay. Then here we have some IF transformers, second tube, and that is an EF89, I guess. I guess then the detector is done with a diode, not with a tube. This is the ECH81, and then that's the FM block. This is the ECC85, and then we have some as lighting. We have just a couple of bulbs which are soldered here. Yeah, you really see that cost cutting was really going very strong at this point, right? And on the bottom side, there is not that much to see. I think there should be something behind this shield. Yeah. So if I take the shield off, okay, we just have some resistors and some capacitors. Not much else. It's very simple. I'm gonna put this back for now. So first thing I'm gonna do is give everything a good clean here, because this is not nice to work on in this condition. So I'm just gonna dust off everything, and I will report back when I'm finished with cleaning this thing up. Well, I dusted this thing off with the air compressor, and before I continue cleaning, I wanted to do my feasibility check. I'll explain that in a minute, but then it hit me, this transformer is not original, and that's why, and this capacitor neither, and the voltage selector is missing, so this entire section has been replaced at some point. This transformer is way too big and way too old for this radio. See, this transformer has still this original rose metal link here as a heat, heat fuse, let's say. Philips was not making these types of transformers in the 1960s, I believe. In any case, it's much bigger than it has to be, and it's quite wonky the way it is mounted, especially this capacitor as well. So that's not original, that has been replaced. And here you see these two guys, those are diodes, and they are for the rectification. And I also don't think that originally this must have not been mounted like this. I guess that hole over there in the back, that's where the original capacitor must have been mounted. The original transformer must have been quite a bit smaller, and this capacitor, I guess, just sat straight up here next to the transformer. So something must have gone wrong, and this transformer must have been cooking, and they had to replace it. And Tech at some point just took an old transformer and put that one in. And then obviously the voltage selector might not have matched with that new setup for the new transformer, so he just took it out. Well, no, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily not going to work. My feasibility check usually consists of putting 2.2 volt RMS on the power socket, on the power plug, sorry, turn on the on-off switch, and then measure what we get out of the transformer. Since 2.2 volt is 1% of the expected input voltage of 220 volts, we should get 1% of all the voltages on the transformer. So let's see, I already figured out that this here is the heater winding. So there we get, I need to put it on, let's put it on millivolt is AC. So if I measure the voltage there, we get 54 millivolts. So that's that corresponds with 5.4 volts if you would have put 220 on here. So that's a bit low. And now, I don't think it's a big deal because in reality we are more on 240 volt these days. Let me change this to 2.4 volts RMS. Let's see what we have then. Then we measure 5.9 volts here. Well, 59 millivolts, so corresponding to 5.9 volts RMS on the heater. Still a bit low. And I hope it doesn't sag further when I put the tubes in. You can also measure it simply here on the socket of the tube. So let's take this one here, for example. See, same thing, 5.8 volts. Yeah, then the secondary, so that means the heater winding is okay. It's a bit low, but I guess that's this transformer. It's also marked here with 3 volts, center 3 volts. So that should be a 6 volt winding then. I don't see any markings of, here we have 300 volts, and then something that I cannot read. So then we should have 300 volts on this side. Yeah, it's over limit. .7 volts, so that corresponds to 270, and on the other side also 2.7 volts. Then we have both rectifier diodes. They should already work if I put here on DC. That's the B+, 3.4 volts, that's very high. Of course, unloaded without any tubes in there. I'll have to check the schematics, but I have a feeling that this transformer will, the B+ might be too high. Now, testing the output transformer is also quite simple. You just connect the speaker to it, or you don't disconnect the speaker, which I did already before. I should have tested this before I clipped off the speaker, but I now connected the workshop speaker here to the secondary of the output transformer, and I'm just going to put a signal here on the primary. Let me see, 1 volt RMS perhaps. Let's do 400 Hertz tone. Okay, you should hear something. Yeah, don't know if you can hear that on the video. Let me increase the amplitude. See, so it's clearly working. So that means that the output transformer is fine. The power transformer is also fine, albeit maybe not a good fit for this radio. We'll have to check. So that means that the most important pieces are working. I do hope that I do see a couple of cooked resistors here on the bottom. You cannot see this on the video. Let me do it like this. See, there are a couple of very cooked resistors, which also seem to be a bit botched. No, I hope that this beefy this beefy transformer didn't cause any other issues, and maybe like the overheating here and everything, maybe that was caused by the output transformer, or maybe it's the other way around. Something caused the output, the power transformer to fail. I don't know. Just a short interjection here, because I really wanted to share this with you before I put out the video. I already cleaned up quite a bit. As you can see here, it's looking a lot better, and it's much nicer to work on. I removed the, well, what is this? The diffuser, cleaned that as well. And I was checking the tubes now. Now, surprise, surprise, the tubes are very bad in general. Well, not even going to talk about it. I probably need to swap all of them. And then this was what I thought was the ECL86. Now, the lettering on the tube is not really readable. And then I noticed here on the tube, see, so that does not look like an E to me. That looks more like a P, not like an E. So this is in fact a PCL86, not an ECL86. And this radio has been rewired to accept the PCL86 as the output tube. Let me show you. If I poke here, so I'm again doing here my, let's call it sanity test, and I put the 2.2 volt again here on the power socket. If I then take here the socket of the ECH81 and I measure there the what's supposed to be the heater voltage, then you see 54 millivolts, so that's 5.5, that corresponds to about 5.5 volts. And that's what we saw earlier. It's low, but it's acceptable. If I do the same thing here on the ECL86, now you're not gonna see anything because the wiring to there broke off, but the wires for the heater were disconnected and connected to another winding here on this transformer, namely this one. See, that's 17 to 18 volts for the heater, which is correct for a PCL86. So I don't know what's going on here. This radio has been half butchered, let's say. They have rewired this thing so that you can use a PCL86 instead of an ECL86, which is, well, PCL86s are extremely cheap compared to the ECL86s. So I don't know what to do here. Let me know what you think. Should I rewire this so that it also uses an ECL86? Anyway, in any case, what should I do with this radio? Because as it sits now, it's a total butchery job, right? Should I leave this transformer in here? That's also a main question. Should I find a smaller one, a more suitable one? What do you think? Should I rewire it to accept again an ECL86? Or should I leave it and keep using the PCL86? Here, this output transformer, it's okay-ish, but this resistor on here, which has completely fallen off because of the heat, has also been with this extra wire reconnected to the output transformer, but that just broke off as well. So this is, remember when I said at the beginning of the video, hopefully it's gonna be a small project? Well, that turned out differently. Okay, so I have been checking the service manual a bit and I learned a couple of things, and the news is not really good. So this is here the power supply. As you see, we have here the transformer. So that's the one that's replaced, obviously. And as you see here, the original transformer had two windings, one for the heater, 603 volts, and another one, 200 volt winding for the B+, well, the main supply for the radio. Now that's quite low for a tube radio. Normally they are, well, in the upper 200s of volts, depending if you use a tube rectifier or a selenium rectifier. But here you see, so this is a bridge rectifier BY123, that's a silicon rectifier. So that's why here they need to have a secondary winding which is a bit lower in voltage, because you almost don't have any voltage drop over a silicon rectifier compared to a selenium one. The reason is that, yeah, this is a tube radio from the end of the 60s. I found out now. So selenium rectifiers were already on their way out by then, and they could use a silicon. Now that silicon rectifier is not present anymore. As you see, it had been replaced with 2 silicon diodes. So okay, that also works, but still not great. Anyway, what is more important is that this transformer that is in there right now has a 300 volt winding, not a 200 volt. So I guess then they must have also replaced some resistors, hopefully. I don't know, I haven't checked to drop this voltage, but dropping 100 volts, that's going to be quite drastic in the amount of heat that will be dissipated. So this entire power supply section is basically, well, screwed up in the original, how it is now in the radio. The problem with this is, I thought, well, let's go through my stock of transformers or check some other tube radio that I have in my stock, which is not really repairable, and just yank out a transformer and put it in here. But that won't work either, because those transformers don't have a 200 volt secondary winding. They expect either a tube rectifier or a silicon rectifier. So I don't have a matching transformer for this radio. You could use a resistor to drop it, yes, that's an option. The problem, however, is I don't know what else has been modified here in the circuit and what has been overheating due to the way too high voltage on the B+. That was normally there. You saw that on the output transformer, so I guess that's this resistor. Completely overheated, so that it melted half of the bracket of the output transformer. There are other resistors underneath the chassis that are completely blackened because of the heat. So, well, I've been thinking about it, and I think I'm going to consider this radio a loss. It would take me a lot of work to fix all this power supply and find out where we have where the circuit has been modified, revert that back to the original circuit, replace any burned components, and then this radio is still not a high quality tube radio. This was made, I found out in the meantime that this radio wasn't made by Philips. It was commissioned by Philips to an Italian company. I think it was called Mivar. And so they built the radio and Philips just slapped that badge on it. So in practice, it's not even a Philips radio. And if you look at the quality of the components, and I also read online, the sound quality is not that fantastic compared to older generations of tube radios. I honestly don't think that it's worth spending a lot of time and effort to restore this one, because this one is really screwed and it would take a lot of time and effort to fix this. I think it's better to start from a radio of this type, which is in a better condition. It's a pity because the case is still nice and okay, but I guess this one will go into my stock for spare parts, I guess. So let me know what you think. I don't think it's worth it to spend a lot of time on this radio. If you disagree, let me know in the comments, but for now, I'm gonna call this a day, and I'm gonna put it in my stock with, well, tube radios that are there just for spare parts. So yeah, it's a pity because I thought this was going to be a quick and easy project, but that turned out quite differently. So anyway, let me know if you don't agree. A discussion is always, a friendly discussion is always welcome. So anyway, we're gonna probably do another tube radio next if I can find another quick and easy project. So anyway, I'd like to thank you for watching, and then I hope I'll see you in the next video with a different radio. So take care. Bye bye.